Hello, Mom and Dad Meet World. So I am here today to talk about these two computers right here. So below and right next to me is the 16-inch MacBook Pro. This is the M4 Pro model. This is actually the baseline model you can get for the 16. And then right above me here, right there, that is the 14-inch M4 Pro, but that's got the M4 processor. That is the baseline model for the 14-inch MacBook Pro. So both of these are baseline models, but we've got the M4 chip on this one, and then we've got the M4 Pro chip on the bigger 16-inch model. So let's talk about these a little bit more. So both of them, what do they have in common? So 120 hertz ProMotion display, so mini LED, 120 hertz ProMotion display is great on these particular devices. They get super bright, they are super sharp, they are both Retina displays, and that is very, very nice. So they've got USB-C ports, so they've got 3 of them, but on this model you've got Thunderbolt 4 ports, and then on the bigger 16-inch you've got Thunderbolt 5 ports, if that matters to you. And it may in the future, for depending on how long you end up keeping the computer and depending on what peripheries, what accessories, peripherals, excuse me, not peripheries, but what peripherals you decide to add to the computer. So if you're going to add something like SSD storage or a Thunderbolt dock, if Apple makes a Thunderbolt 5 display later in the future, well then that may matter to you in whether or not to get a Thunderbolt 5 compatible machine. But another similarity is going to be the SD cards built in, SD card reader should I say. The SD card reader is super nice, super handy to have, and then HDMI out along with the headphone jack and along with MagSafe, which is ultra useful, that I use pretty much all the time to charge these computers. So what is the difference? So the big difference is the size. So you've got the 14-inch display, you've got the 16-inch display, and then obviously with the 16 you've got a little bit of a weight disparity too, because this one is going to be bigger, it's going to be heavier, and it's just a beast of a computer. But with that 16-inch display, as I've said in the past, you do have an immersive screen. So just to give you a little bit of a background, the first big computer we ever got was the M1 Max, the 16-inch M1 Max model, and that was our very first foray into like Apple Silicon in terms of like a pro-ish model. We've had the Apple MacBook Air, the M1, that was awesome, but for a little bit more serious video content, we went with the M1 Max at the time. And then this model, this is the M4 base model, but we've actually gotten, it was actually last year, we actually used an M3 Max, the lower end model with the 36 gigs of RAM. That's the one we actually ended up using last year. But again, this is the M4 base model, and then this is our daily driver here. This is the one that 100% keeping, 100% using, and that is our M4 Pro base model with this one. So let's get into a little bit of the specs here. So with the 14-inch, you've got 16 gigs of RAM, and then 512 gigs of solid state storage. That is the baseline model on the 16, along with that M4 chip. So 10-core CPU, 10-core GPU, that is standard on this. And then you've got the M4 Pro. With this M4 Pro, I believe you've got a 14-core CPU and then a 20-core GPU, which is double the cores obviously than the M4, and then 24 gigs of RAM and then 512 gigs of storage. So both same storage, but the 16 has slightly more memory with 24 over the 16 on this. So the other thing to know too, with this being an M4 chip, this one being an M4 Pro chip on the bigger one, it could give you slightly faster, obviously the multi-core, because you're going to have more performance threads on, or should I say you're going to have more performance cores on the 16 than you are on the 14. So in real world day-to-day use, does that really does that really matter? Well, it really depends on the app. I notice it with Final Cut. With Final Cut, you are going to get about the same export time. Both of them, the timelines are very, very smooth to scrub through. There's going to be no issue with that. You don't need to set it to better performance. You can have these both set to better quality. Scrub through the timelines, it's going to be absolutely just fine. As far as like, you know, video stabilization, again, they're both going to be about similar. You're going to feel the heat coming off the body of the computers, and the fans do both whir up when you are using something like Sony's Catalyst Browse. So I cannot give you any more other like hard applications that are going to really test the CPU, the GPU, really anything, because other than that, I do use these for mostly like web browsing, remote desktop, Microsoft Office Suite, Slack, again, Final Cut, Sony's Catalyst Browse, and then Pixelmator Pro, which I do love to use also for doing a little bit of photo editing. But again, none of those other than Sony's Catalyst Browse will really tax these computers. I can't speak for anything else that you may do, whether or not you are doing a little bit of programming or a lot of programming or visual design, graphic editing, anything like that. I cannot speak on, and then I cannot speak to on any of the AI, the artificial intelligence, the large language models. I don't do any of that either. I'm just giving you the very basic consumer level with a little bit of hobby level video editing and photo editing. Either of these are going to be just fine, and it's going to be up to you to decide whether or not you want or need something like the bigger 16-inch display. Again, the 16-inch display is immersive, it is quite nice. Or if you'd rather have basically almost the same power, again, we're talking base model here, so there's going to be a little bit of a price difference, and you can see that up here on the screen, a little bit of price difference from the base model 14 to the base model 16. But again, the 14, you're not compromising on the extra ports because you still get now 3 this year, where in the previous with the M3 models, you've only gotten 2. And then you've also got that beautiful 120 Hertz ProMotion mini LED display. And then you get this space black color that you did not get last year with the M3 Pro models, but you do get that on the M4, the baseline chip. But this is also truly a MacBook Pro. So just wanted to give you the heads up there that basically it's going to be about the size. I cannot speak for any of the power uses because I just don't use that many power intensive apps. So again, it's going to be up to you whether or not you're great with taking along something more portable, something smaller, that maybe it's got those extra ports that the M4 Air does not provide. Not only the extra ports with the SD card reader, the HDMI, and that extra USB-C Thunderbolt 4 port, but then you're also getting that 120 Hertz ProMotion display that you maybe just can't live without, or maybe you've had that 120 Hertz ProMotion mini LED and you went back to like the M4 Air and you really like the computer, you love the size of it, you love the thinness, the compactness of it. However, that ProMotion 120 Hertz mini LED, that is one where if you've got it before, it's hard to go back to. Again, if you're using this day to day, you're not really going to notice the performance difference. Really, where you're going to notice a visual difference is maybe using it. That 120 Hertz ProMotion is quite nice. And then if you use it a lot in like the dark environments where you're really going to want those truly nice inky black levels, then you will 100% notice that between the IPS LCD display of the M4 Air and any one of these MacBook Pros, because again, that display, that mini LED, it cuts off those pixel zones, or cuts off the zones on the display, so where you're going to get a nice true black. So, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of an overview here. 14-inch baseline or 16-inch baseline, it's really going to be up to you. For us personally, we have the 16 and the 14 was going to be a secondary. Again, I truly haven't decided on whether or not to go with the 14 MacBook Pro or the baseline 13 MacBook Air. I know those are slightly different in configuration, mainly just the size of the SSD and then those extra GPU cores that you do not get on the baseline model M4 Air. But just wanted to give you a comparison here between these two. If you like this video, you know what to do. Like, share, comment, subscribe. It all helps out our channel. And until next time, thanks for watching. Bye for now.